Appearing in the Carteret County News-Times, which I'm associated with, yes, is a full-page ad, and it's an important ad, and our guests and I have talked on numerous occasions about the whole issue of tourism, and I started off the conversation here today on Viewpoints talking about a major contributor to the tourist environment. It is one restaurant. It's one of many outstanding restaurants we have and we enjoy here in Carteret County. And Jim Browder, the executive director of the Carteret County Tourism Development Authority, is with us this afternoon. And we're going to talk about tourism makes dollars and cents for Carteret County. And by the way, sand dollars as well as dollars that we pay, we use at the checkout counter. So with that, Jim, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, this is great. And it's a topic I said just a moment ago as we were about to start this conversation that you and I should be talking about more often, because tourism is our area's number one economy, is it not?
Yes, it is.
So I'm going to get you a little closer. So it is.
Yes, it is.
All right. And yet, the citizens, the average citizen of the county, lives here, and I'm just as guilty. We take it for granted. We take the access to the waters that we have, the seafood that we enjoy, the views, the sunrises and the sunsets. We have the luxury in Carteret County being a geographically east-west oriented, so we get to watch the water rise over the ocean and literally set over the sounds over the water if we want. So this is a unique area. Let's talk about Jim Browder. Where are you coming from? What's your experience in tourism?
Well, your show isn't long enough, but I've been in the hospitality business for well over 40 years. I actually started in the food and beverage industry. I was as an assistant banquet manager with Hyatt Hotels. I worked with them for 10 years and eventually left as a director of sales and marketing. I worked at Disney for 5 years. So I've worked all over the United States. My wife and I have been married 43 years, and we've moved 29 times. And
wow.
So I've had a lot of experience throughout the United States. I formerly, from a tourism standpoint, I got out of the hotel business a little after 30-some years and got into tourism. I was the president of the Lexington, Kentucky Convention Visitors Bureau for 4 or 5 years. And after that, I ran a very busy attraction in West Virginia called Tamarack, which was an artist facility owned by the state, and had an extensive retail space, convention center, the Performing Arts Center, and it was really nice facility. So it used to do a couple million people a year went through that facility.
So having been in West Virginia, the fact that one leg is shorter than the other made it very convenient when you were walking along the sand dunes.
Very convenient. Very convenient.
All right, let's talk about the value of tourism, and let's the efforts here. Tourism makes dollars and cents for Carteret County. It makes dollars and cents for the state as well, does it not?
Absolutely. And I believe the state is the number 5 state in the United States in terms of visitation.
Oh, really?
Behind California, New York, Florida, and Texas, and then North Carolina is next.
Why does anybody go to Texas? No. Texas is a fine state.
And then if you put it in perspective, within that realm, Carteret County is the number 11 county within North Carolina. So it's pretty...
Out of 100.
Out of 100.
You know, it is interesting. I know that Charlotte, Mecklenburg, and Raleigh-Durham are like 1 and 2, right, somewhere in that vicinity.
The Outer Banks and Wilmington, and of course Asheville. So those take the top 5 spots.
But it's interesting that the 2 major cities are tourist destinations,
yes,
but that's because of their meeting facilities, is it not?
Yes.
Okay. But
you also have major attractions there, whether like Charlotte, you've got the Panthers and so a lot of those type things.
I don't know if you call the Panthers a major attraction, but they do have a baseball team and a soccer team there.
That's correct.
Yeah. So and a basketball team. We are a Panthers affiliate. No, I joke there. All right. Looking at the role of tourism, to me, it is probably one of the softest investments in the state, and I'll use that term in the sense that you're not having to put up large factories. make major infrastructure investments. Highways are important, but they're important internally for the community as well as they are for tourists. So it's almost an organic industry. Is that a good description?
I call it the perfect ATM machine.
Okay.
People get their money out, they spend it here, and then they leave, and and we get to keep the infrastructure. So we don't have to create a new beach. We don't have to create another Shackelford Banks. We don't have to. So the investment, a lot of it is already here. And there's certainly things that are added to that because entrepreneurs built, tour companies and other attractions and things of that nature. So yes, there's a combination of the natural and the business side of things that make a special place out of this.
In the process of looking at tourism in Carteret County, and this goes to the fact that it also influences the surrounding communities, it plays a role also in investment capacity because tourism attracts people who visit the area who suddenly say, maybe we can relocate our business, our operation. And of course, the pandemic had a lot to do with that, did it not?
Yes, it did. And basically there's, and I think most people in Carteret County would agree with it. You see a tremendous number of people here from Raleigh that have built second homes. Those second homes, and we get quite a few of them actually from D.C. as well, own second homes here. But those second homes also generate income to the construction industry in terms of renovation and a lot of other things. Some of them, some of the buildings need to be torn down and rebuilt.
Maintenance too.
But it's an ongoing process that doesn't end. And so here they're paying taxes that help all of our services and amenities in the county, but they don't live here.
So they are really not putting any kind of pressure on the very amenities that they're supporting.
They do in terms of when they let people use their units and so forth and so on. But the hope is that one outweighs the other by a long shot. So we don't have to put their kids through school.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would be a good example.
And generally speaking, visitors tend to not want to create problems or difficulties because they're looking for their free time. They don't want to be interrupted.
They're here to have fun.
And All right, we're going to take a quick break on that. We've got Jim Browder. We're going to come back. We're going to talk specifically about some of the documentation that he has provided and is working on to show how important tourism is, not only to the Crystal Coast, but Jim, I'm going to say to the region, New Bern, Craven County, Onslow County, Pamlico.
That's correct.
All the way up to Raleigh because of I-42. Carteret County generated more than $695 million in economic impact, resulting in $28 million in local sales tax. Now, the population for Carteret County, roughly 68,000 people.
Correct.
That would be nothing that would not, those numbers would not be available from 68,000 people, would it?
No, they would not. It'd be impossible.
So we're looking now at the impacts of tourism. How does this influence the economies surrounding Carteret County as well?
Well, I think that, first of all, a lot of the numbers that we share in terms of employment and things like that, which is our intent with this program, to communicate to the local economy, so to speak, and let them know what we are working on. A lot of it is what are their direct impact numbers.
Okay.
That's not the indirect numbers. For instance, we may or may not say that somebody went in and ate in a restaurant, but it doesn't necessarily equate to the fact that they got the oysters from a local farm.
Good point.
So we don't necessarily track everything that it touches, but obviously when you have this type of investment, it stretches to a lot of small businesses around.
It goes
here.
deeper.
So it goes much, much deeper.
So in reality, you're not even getting the full.
No. In fact, when we put these numbers in here, we try and be extremely conservative with them. In fairness, we don't want to go out
don't overpromise and underperform.
And
okay.
So we're trying to be provide a very fair analysis. For instance, when we were talking about a lot of what we do is, we look at trends and we work years out in some cases when we're trying to advertise and try and bring people here. So when we look at numbers, we also look at and strategies. We also look at what's going on in the world. We're looking at our gas prices going through the roof. What's happening with the airlines? What's happening, with cruise lines and so forth and so on. Because if those get disrupted, then the drive traffic picks up.
Right.
Where's the drive traffic coming from? And that's how we start shifting our advertising dollars. So when we were talking about in one of these pieces we put in there, that if Wade County and Mecklenburg start shifting their school calendars, then you have a potential impact of $382,000 a day on our local economy.
$382,000 a day.
That's a very conservative number, and I'll tell you why. We don't track the 25-30% of visitors who stay with family and friends.
Okay.
So it could be as high as 25-30% higher than that.
Wow.
So that's why I say we put a conservative number out there. Our intent isn't to overstate the process. Our intent is to be fair.
Okay. And we'll talk about school calendar in the sense that it's an issue of trend watching on your part.
Yeah, our job is to turn around and identify what the potential is, and then what can we do to try and mitigate it.
You can't control the source of that.
It's not our intent to.
Okay. I think that's an important issue.
Yeah, it's not our intent to at all. And our intent is to turn around and say it's a hurdle that we have to try and figure out. How do we overcome a hurdle, and how do we help our local community benefit as much as possible?
And by the way, let's talk here very quickly about the TDA and those room tax dollars. Those room tax dollars come back in more ways than just in the benefit of sales tax and infrastructure and services. And by the way, we're talking our schools, our police and fire departments, our hospital, but it also is because of the legislation. It benefits the stability of our geography, does it not?
Yes, it does.
And let's talk about that. It's called a sand tax to a degree.
Right.
Right.
Right. So the beauty of it is, unlike a lot of sales tax that the locals are spending, we operate 100% off of occupancy tax. The Beach Commission receives occupancy tax. That means the person had to come to the county, visit, rent from one of our lodging partners, and pay the tax and leave. So none of the local systems invest in this. None of the local citizens invest in this at all. They just benefit from it.
I think it's an important story. I mean, the other aspect of it is I'll use the term again. It's organic. We're just simply making available access to the facilities, the natural ingredients that are already here.
Correct.
I think it's an important issue. We're talking with Jim Browder, again, Executive Director of the TDA, Carteret County TDA. Jim, I'm curious, in your conversations with other TDA execs, what's the conversation about the understanding and the value of tourism to the state, to the communities in which they're servicing?
The challenge that we have and why we started this program is not uncommon at all.
Okay.
And it kind of came to light with multiple questions over the last few years. And when I do these presentations to local Rotaries or other clubs, I only have 15 minutes to talk. So we have not done a great job of saying what the value of tourism is.
Okay.
And so that we're trying to remedy that with this campaign. And it's not to pat ourselves on the back, because the reality is tourism was not built by the TDA. It was built by the local community.
Right.
A lot of people invested in this, started businesses. Our job is to try and build on it.
Well, a good example of that, just to pause for a moment. This weekend, Beaufort Homes Tour in Beaufort.
Correct.
All right. It was started by a group of ladies, the Women's Club in Beaufort, that wanted to take advantage of the homes and promote the history of the town.
Right.
But they wanted to also bring visitors to the area.
Correct.
That's what you do.
That's correct.
So you are simply the conduit from, I'm going to pick randomly, Raleigh to Beaufort.
Correct. So
So this is the sort of product.
So our objective is to help them build that event.
Right.
And I'll give you a good example of it. We have, and that's a whole nother discussion, but we have event funding money that we use on a local basis. So the Beaufort Historic Site gets money from us
Okay.
every year They have to fill out an application, go through the entire process, and we have very specific rules to that money. They cannot promote an event that happens in the summertime using our funds. It can only be shoulder months.
Right.
So the home tours is 100% their baby.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Now, when they hold a candlelight tour in the fall, they're allowed to use our resources for that because our intent is not to drive additional business during the summer months.
You're trying to make it a year-round business.
We're trying to make it a year-round business because, A, it helps obviously with other people's income, employment, and you do not have to add to the infrastructure. That allows all of our 11 waterfront communities maintain their sense of place, which is what makes this place special in the first place.
I fully agree with you on that one. Jim Browder, again, Executive Director of the TDA, and we're going to be talking with him on a series of these. We're talking, of course, about the value of tourism, particularly for Carteret County, but I'm going to close with the state as well, because we have folks that come from other states that discover the state of North Carolina as a result of a visit here or any of those other quasi-beach areas. Wilmington swears that they have a beach. We don't agree with, but that's another story. I'm just competitive that. But this is more than just a local issue. This is a state issue, is it not?
It is, and the reason what I said earlier about we haven't done a great job with this is a lot of times I turn around and say the reason people don't know what we do is because they're not our customer. Our customer is
the community,
actually miles and miles out of town.
Okay.
Because we're trying to create overnight stays, which generates the greatest economic impact. So our customer is not local, so they don't know what we do for a living.
I want to thank Jim Browder for taking the time to be with us today. I'll tease this and say that will be more to come. This is only part one of a serial with Jim Browder of the TDA. Jim, thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.